lot of people, I teach people how to get no doc funding, which means how to get approved without having to provide bank statements, pay stubs, etc. So like if you go into a bank and you put, oh, I'm self-employed, most people don't understand that you should not do that, because what you're doing is you are telling them that you're not stable.
What's going on, millionaires? It's your guy Kai Speaks, and we back with another episode of the $1 Million Mind Podcast. You were tapped into the right place if you were here for money, entrepreneurship, and most importantly, that mindset. And tapping in real quick on the mindset, matter of fact, on all three, the mindset, the entrepreneurship, and the money, we got my guy Darius Benders in the building, who's going to be helping y'all with understanding the funding, what it takes to structure your business so that you can get the funding. And I'm just super excited for this call, for this conversation, and for just this episode for you guys, because as entrepreneurs who be coming to me like, hey, Kai, this is a business that I'm interested in. Can we get this type of person on? You know, rarely do we think about, can we get somebody that can help us with the funding, right? Like, we want to start all these businesses, but they never get anywhere because we either have to come out with our own capital, which we might not have access to, and then we just drop the whole business, throw the whole business away, right? So we got a funding expert, a funding specialist in the building. Darius, my guy, appreciate you, hopping on the platform.
Appreciate you having me,
and then
bro.
just go ahead and, tell our listeners a little bit more about where you from, how you got in the funding, and I guess we can go from there.
Absolutely. So I've been in the funding space now for about a year and a half, right? And we've been coaching it now for about a year. Started off, I've been an entrepreneur 7 years, but over the pandemic, I really had to pivot because I was in the nightlife previously. So I came out to a conference out here in Georgia, actually. I just got in a room with all different type of entrepreneurs, people in trucking, Airbnb, tarot, credit. And it was new. It was brand new to me. I had never really seen nothing like it or attended an event like it. But it opened my eyes. It was, one of those, I say we always have those times in life where it's like some things once you see, you can't unsee. And for me, that was that. So, I just been locked in ever since that conference. I tapped in with one of my guys. He showed me the game, and I started just getting myself right, got my credit in position. We went out, got $167,000 in funding in 47 days. Then I started funding people, helping them build their credit. And then we started just educating people on a larger scale. Yeah,
I'm sure you got your sleep cycles back right too, man. Working in the nightlife.
Facts, different, man.
It's different. Yeah, totally. So you now are in the funding space, and man, we've been chopping it up before this conversation. I was getting a chance to learn a little bit more about you and how the business is structured. And one thing you shared was kind of like the pivot that you had to change. You had to kind of refocus some things. What were some like, I guess, yellow flags that kind of highlighted in your mind that it was time for the pivot, and where were you at mentally when you had to make that pivot, and what were some of the first things you went about, so that it was a successful one?
Well, honestly, I always say the man upstairs work in mysterious ways. So I had wanted to get out of the nightlife for a little while, but it was a situation. I'm sure a lot of people that's listening, you may feel like you're in this position, or you may have been in this position to where you're making some decent money. So you're like, okay, well, I'm making some money. I don't really want to risk that to go chase something new.
Right.
So I was in that position, bro, and pandemic came, so it sort of forced me to figure something new out, which was a blessing in disguise.
Okay, can't nobody go clubbing anyway.
At least where I'm from, Atlanta, they was still outside, but Atlanta, they was wilding out here. But back home, clubs are shut down. So I was like, yo, what am I gonna do? And it was a time, and I'm not gonna lie, I was in. I'm a person who I know I've always had the ability to be able to hustle and make something shake. So at that time I just said, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to realize what I want to do, right? What do I want to do next? In the nightlife, it taught me a lot of skills, taught me leadership, taught me marketing, it taught me how to leverage other people, relationship building, networking. So I took those skills and then I went to this conference, and I met, like I said, my guy Mel. I met him in the subway line, and he just started chopping it up. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, what do I do? And I really didn't have a response. Everyone in there was like, I'm in trucking, I'm in credit, I'm in Airbnb. And I'm like, damn, what do I say I do? So I just went with marketing, because marketing was to do with the nightlife, right?
Sure.
So I just went with that. And then we just started building. And that's why I say the most important thing you could do, bro, is get in those rooms, because you're just one relationship or one piece of information away from changing your whole life. And the reason I'm so big on telling people to get in the rooms is because that's what literally, was the beginning of changing my life. So from there, bro, we would just hop on Zoom like twice a month. And I was just giving him game on what I knew, some content creation, some marketing things, leveraging other people's audience. He was giving me game on the credit. And I had never been like, I never knew about credit. You hear about it, but you hear about it from your parents. It don't sound too appealing. No one had ever taught me about like leveraging credit. And that was the thing that appealed to me, because at this time I was broke. So I'm like, hold on, so I don't even have to have money in my pocket. I could go get money from the banks. I could utilize that to go get a coach who could show me how step by step how to make money. So once I heard that, I'm one of them people, like, I don't take too long to execute. So I just started running the play.
Yeah, just run the play, man. It's so crazy, man. We had a conversation similar to this one a few weeks back, and running like that phrase, run the play, came up a couple times, right? Yeah. And that's what we here to talk about, right? Like how funding can help you run these plays, because everybody's play looks different. But the thing that is consistent, what stops people from running that play, is access to funding.
100%.
Right? So you talked about your relationship with credit before you learned that you can leverage it. What did that look like? What was credit? How did credit have a presence in your family? What was your, perception of credit before?
It was non-existent in my life, because I was like, I don't even, like, what is that? But my mom, she always had great credit. Women be having good credit.
Women be having
especially
their credit
like
together.
Your mothers, because they was like, but their thing was they never leveraged it. So like even that, like I'll put my mom on the plays now. She's like, boy, I've been had good credit, but I'll be trying to tell her like, yeah, I understand that, but I tell people there ain't no sense of having a 775 if you ain't leveraging it. The point of having good credit is to leverage it to go out and obtain wealth. A lot of people walk around, I see people online, I got 800 credit score. That's what's up. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it?
Facts.
To be honest, I don't have an 800 credit score. As soon as I get back to 760, I'm running more plays. Because I look at good credit as a business partner. I don't look at it as just
something that you maintain all the time.
That's not what this is.
We kind of talked about that too. Like me personally, like I don't look at it like, okay, I gotta maintain this 800 credit score every day, all day. Especially if I don't have no moves that I'm trying to make with it. I don't want to sacrifice or liquidate my funds or access to the funds that I might have in my savings or in my checkings account just to say I got an 800 credit score. You know what I'm saying? It's like I would much rather have access to those funds right away,
so that you can utilize it.
So I can utilize it when I need to. So that's a good perspective to have, and it's interesting that you said that, because I think a lot of people do associate good credit with always having it.
100%.
And we even talked to my boy Ben, who's a mortgage broker, and he was saying like when you applying for a house, it's not like the banks is looking to see how long you had this 800 or this 700 credit score. Exactly. They just want to make sure you got it.
It could be one day. Your credit report could have just updated. Bet I'm going to fill out the application now. That's it.
Boom. That's like, it's not even that you having if two people got a 700 credit score. That's matter of fact, let's say you got a 710 and I got a 680. And I had my 680 for 2 years, and you had your 710 for 2 days. Yep. You still most likely to get the funds.
Absolutely. If them data points is built up, 100%, I'm getting them funds.
Right. So let's talk about what that means, data points. Yep. When you say data points, put that into perspective for the listeners on what that looks like, if it's something that you get, how to get it, how to maintain it, or how to even, just make it look nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, most people, contrary to belief, a lot of people have been told that it's about a credit score. You need to have this number. Now, when it comes to business funding or funding in general, it's not so much about your credit score. It's about your credit profile. And your credit profile typically tells a story, right? So I like to use examples. So, for example, if you came up to me and, you said, hey, how's it going, bro? Nice to meet you. Can I borrow $10,000? I'm probably not going to give you the $10,000 unless if you said, hey, let me borrow $10,000. Look, I've been borrowing money for 5 years. I've been paying people back on payment plan every single month consistently, and I've never missed a payment. Then I might be like, well, bro, got a good track record. I got references that I can go and see that you've been paying it back on time. I'm a lot more likely to then think about giving you $10,000, right? So that's the same way the banks look at us. So when you got derogatories, you have late payments, you have collections, those are red flags. You're not getting any funding with those, right? So that's step one, making sure that we clean it up. All right, 35% of your credit score is based on time payments. The next thing comes down to strength and age, right? So it goes back to the example I just gave you. If you can tell me that you got 10 neighbors, you got 10 friends, and you can show me proof that you've been paying them back over time, I don't care that you borrowed a lot of money because you're showing me that you're responsible. That's how the banks operate. So if you don't have enough primary accounts, and for those of you who are like, what is a primary account? Anything that is in your name is considered a primary account. Auto loans, student loans, mortgages, revolving credit, installment credit, credit cards, lines of credit, all these things are considered primary accounts. All right, if someone needs to build up, like they're in a position where they don't have any primaries, I recommend credit builder accounts and these installment loans. And what those are is essentially they're going to allow you to sign up for a subscription base. You got things like Kickoff, you got a Kovo installment loan, you got Moneyline installment loan, where essentially you're going to be able to pay either a one-time fee or a monthly subscription, and every month they're going to report to the credit bureaus that you've been paying them down.
Okay. That's kind of like, I had a Self credit card.
Self is one. Yeah. Credit Strong, Kickoff. You got Rent Reporter, Rental Karma. You got all of those. So that's a great way to start building primary accounts.
Now, are they all similar to Self? Because what I like about that is that monthly subscription that you paying
comes back to you.
It comes back to
90%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So towards the end, most of them, yes, they're going to be the same thing. Where at the end of the term, a percentage is going to come back to you.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's great, and it's like you got to think it's allowing you to save money simultaneously. So if you got money management issues, it's a great way that you can knock two birds out with one stone. Another thing I tell people to do is a lot of these credit unions will actually allow you something called like a pledge loan, or some credit unions call it a savings shared secure loan, where essentially you can use your own money to open up this loan. And the great thing about that is you're going to be able to, this is a hack I tell people, if you want to strengthen your report quick, go to like a Navy Fed, a DCU, Air Force Credit Union, and you can open up one of these pledge loans. Now, you can do it anywhere from $50 all the way up to how much ever you have, right? So let's say you use your money, you fund it. The next day, what you can do is you can call them and you let them know that you would like to pay down 90% of that loan. Right now, that money is going to be from the loan back into your checking account. So the money doesn't have to sit there for a long period of time. And what this does is now you have an account on your credit report that shows up as 90% paid down. Right. Not only that, but it's going to allow you to build that internal score with that credit union, because credit unions have like their internal scores, which is why you could go to a credit union, and if you've built a relationship running that play I just told you, with a 670, you can go get a nice little bag because your internal relationship with them shows that it's strong.
Right. Now, what does a good relationship look like as far as time? Is it like a year, 2 years?
Now, you can build a relationship pretty quick. Honestly, let's say you were with Navy Fed, you ran the pledge loan, and you also let some money sit in the checking and in the savings, or you're doing weekly deposits. You could run that after 30 days, bro. You can go apply. They have a pre-qualify where you can see if you're pre-qualified for one of their credit cards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be...
Not even that long?
Nah. No.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Now, you mentioned when we was talking beforehand about like some of your students and how they able to get to some funding pretty fast.
Absolutely.
Like so fast, you said in a day was the fastest. Like what did these students have in common who was getting to the bag that fast? Like I know you mentioned some of these data points. I'm sure they probably have all those data points lined up, but are there any other things that stand out that they have in common that allow them to be such good models to get them funded so quickly?
Absolutely. So there's 3 parts, right? There's 3 parts to getting funding. And usually people will either meet one of the 3 or 2 of the 3. Most people don't understand 3 of the 3. So the 3 parts are your foundation, right? I always like to say your foundation is everything. That's your personal credit. Okay. Optimizing, which is how your business is set up, right? How does your business structured? Is it structured like a big business so that you can get big funding? And then the 3rd part is understanding what these lenders are looking for on applications. That's where most people don't know. So when we get people who come to me, they have a 720 credit score, they have all those data points that I went through, their business is already set up and structured right. We got.
They just don't know what it is.
They just don't know what banks to look for, and even what they're looking for on applications. Because if you don't know, like for example, a lot of people, I teach people how to get no doc funding, which means how to get approved without having to provide bank statements, pay stubs, etc. So like, if you go into a bank and you put, oh, I'm self-employed. Most people don't understand that you should not do that, because what you're doing is you are telling them that you're not stable. We know that self-employed people will make a lot of money, but to the eyes of the bank, it's a system. Yeah. So that tells them, okay, show us some pay stubs, show us 3 months bank statements. So just like that, you disqualify from no doc funding. Now, if you can show proof of income, you can still go get some funding, but I like the money to come faster, which no doc funding typically is, and it's just an easier transition because a lot of people haven't made money in their business yet. Mm-hmm. So that's why I teach as brand new businesses, we got people that's going out getting $150,000 in funding. So that's really the commonality. If someone who comes in, they come in, they getting funding within a week, their probably profile's already set up, the business is already set up right. They just need to understand what banks to go to for the best results, and then how to fill out applications.
Yeah, that's some game right there.
Are you a current business owner that's using your own cash and you're wondering why you're not growing, why you don't have enough money to reinvest back into the business? Well, there are actually banks like Truist, Chase, and Bank of America that will give you out 0% interest funding in your business name to be able to go out and scale. So what I want you to do is DM me the word funding, and me and my team are going to hop on a call and see how we can help you get to that next level faster.
I didn't even know about those 3 things. I mean, they make sense, right? Yeah. And I knew to be aware that there are certain things that the banks are looking for, right? So I know of that third, but even specifically, I don't even know what the specific
what it would
things
be like.
Right?
Exactly.
I think most people are like that. They know, okay, like, and some people might even overthink it. Like, I know the bank's looking for a certain thing. Yeah. You know, they say self-employed. Maybe I should put self-employed because that shows that I'm a business owner, right?
Exactly. But that's why I say, like, most people don't understand the concept of getting coaching and getting mentorship, because literally I get people who, they get on the phone with our sales team. They're like, yeah, you know, my score is pretty good. I'm set up the right way. You know, I think I'm pretty close. I don't know if I need the program. But then they'll come back in like 3 months, like, man, I've been trying, I've been getting denied. Let me just lock in. They come in the program and right away they getting funny. And it's like, that's why I tell people, most people look at like, what is it gonna cost me, right? But what I tell people to always look at is, what is it gonna cost me if I don't execute or if I don't tap in and get guidance? Because that could cost you 3 months, 6 months. You could have already been up. You could have already been growing your business. You could have already did your first 6 figures. So what I tell people is literally, because most people think they get into a coaching program or mentorship, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to learn all this information. Nah, sometimes it's just one piece of information. But what if the one piece of information made you extra 10 bands a month, or got you 100,000 in funding, which is going to be that thing that catapults you to that next level?
Yeah, and it's not even really a cost. Like you said, the real cost is what happens if nothing changes.
Exactly.
Right? That's the opportunity cost.
100.
But it's not really a cost. I look at it more of an investment, right? It's like the you got to pay to play sometimes, and that's the investment that you have to put up. And it's just sad that, you know, we don't have that same mindset of, you know, oh, college is going to cost me. It's like, we're like, okay, I'm about to get this student aid, and so I can get this funding, so I can go to college and get a degree, and then not use the degree.
And college is low key genius, because you think about it from their standpoint. I mean, it's genius for their standpoint, not from ours. They literally don't put a promise on anything. No. Like, they don't say when you leave here you'll get X amount.
And we got to do that.
We got to do that. Like, we got to put guarantees. We got to do all these things, and people will still say, I don't know. But with college, they've done because it's been around for so long. Yeah. And a lot of times our parents told us, like, yeah, that's just the thing to do. But we never think to ask, well, why? Like, what makes it the thing to do? Because if you ask your parents, they'll probably be like,
that's just what you got to do.
That's just a good thing to do, but it's not. So I tell people, like, yo, like, understand that the information that we teach it's a direct effect. Yeah. I can directly show you how to level up by just getting access to more leverage. Yeah. And I use the term leverage because, you know, I think when I failed 7 businesses before, you know, this one had popped off. And the one thing I was missing was, at one point I thought it was me. Like, damn, is it me? Like, you know, am I not good? But what I realized, I just didn't have enough leverage. Funding allows you to do that. Now, if I want to start a podcast and, you know, you got a course or you got a program, why would I do it on my own? I'm going to buy the wrong mics. I'm going to buy the wrong camera, the wrong equipment, and now it costs myself more when I could have had you guide me. And then, you know,
that's so crazy. And like, even to your point, when I was stumbling into it, like, I didn't have somebody that could, like, say, this is what you want to. Bro, you know, when I first got into videography, how many cameras I bought to realize I bought the wrong camera. That's it. And then you got to sell it for less than you bought it for.
You're losing right there.
Already losing money right there. Then you got to go through the time it takes you to sell the equipment, right? It's just like, I very much value mentorship and coaching, so much so to where sometimes it might even be a detriment. You know, and let's talk about that too, because you know, what are some ways that people can optimize how they shop around for a coach too? Because you can be the person who doesn't like the coaching. You could be the person that's like, oh, I'm gonna get a coach, and they spend on the first coach they see, which has been me sometimes, where you don't get no results. You don't even learn something. You just spend the bag on the wrong coach.
For sure. Always vet your people. I always say this. Listen, this is a red flag. Anybody listening, make sure y'all tapped in. If y'all ask a coach for testimonials or for results of their past students, and they are even hesitant, if they are questioning why you're asking them, run. That is not your ideal coach. I tell people this: success leaves clues, and success has receipts. You know what I'm saying? I love when people ask me, oh, you know, what if some students done in your program? I got hundreds of receipts, because when you're helping people and you're impacting lives, like, that's a great thing. It feels good. You know, it's even, to my opinion, the service is great. Funding people, I love it. It's easy money. But serving people is my favorite stream of income, because it literally get to see them level up. So that's definitely one thing I would do. Ask for receipts. And then I would just honestly check out their content. Like, how long have they been doing something? How consistent are they? Because consistency is going to tell you how passionate they are. Like, you could go on my Instagram and you see every day I'm putting out content. Every day I'm giving free value. And then, people who lead with value. Like, I shop specifically with people who lead with value. So any one of my coaches or my mentors, before I bought from them, I got something for free from them. Whether it was a free class, I had a conversation with them. I felt like, bro know what he's talking about. So those are some things you could look for.
Yeah, that's some good game. And I'm glad you mentioned the receipts too. I never really thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense, because when you're applying for a job or you're applying for a school, you know, they're asking you for recommendations. You know, you need at least 3 referrals or recommendations that they want, you know. So that makes sense. Like, we need receipts that you are going to be the student.
Exactly.
You know, so I need receipts that you're going to be the coach that you say you are, right?
Absolutely.
That you've done this. Okay.
And sometimes the marketing, like, the people who are good marketers out here, and there's a lot of, you know, marketers who haven't necessarily delivered on it. So that's why receipts is like the biggest thing. Receipts don't lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's nothing to make a pretty ad, right?
Exactly.
That's what I'd help with.
Yeah, exactly.
Making the ad free.
My guy gonna get you right.
But you still gotta have the proof of concept, you know, behind it.
Social proof.
And speaking of, like, the proof, as someone who is listening to this and like, okay, I'm hearing data points, I got to get my profile right, yada yada yada. I feel like this is something that, like, do you need to be obsessive with this stuff? Because me personally, I've always felt like my hindrance was that I'm not obsessive enough with looking into, you know, credit and just understanding my whole profile and what I look like as not just a consumer, but also as like a borrower. Right. Is this something that you need to be, you know, obsessive with? If so, or if not, right? Like, how are some ways that people can fit this into like their
regular lifestyle? Great question. So it's, as a consumer, it's not something you need to be obsessed with. For me, of course, I'm obsessed with it because, you know, I have a responsibility.
That's your job to be
there's other people. But for a consumer, no. Because once I paint the picture of what those data points need to look like, and just to reiterate, 10 primary accounts, 4 years of average age, and you can look that up on your Credit Karma app. Now, let me be clear. We don't use Credit Karma to identify our score, right? Because it goes off of something called a Vantage score, which is not what the lenders use. So we're not using them for our score. But what I do like to look at the app for is it tells you the data points. So it'll say payment history, it'll say derogatories, it'll say utilization, it'll say
and all that will be
primary
accurate.
Accounts, and all that is typically accurate. But the score itself is not what the lenders are looking at, right? So I will look at those data points, and it will simply tell you the thing with that is it typically updates every day. So you'll be able to see when things are added, what's going on. So you could check it, you know, once a week, once every 2 weeks, and then making sure that your business is set up. Once I give you those, what that needs to look like, you could easily see, okay, check. I've done it all. Now I know I'm in shape in terms of my business. It's not something that you'll forever have to be into or looking at all the time. No.
That makes a lot of sense. So, man, like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why they would even show a Vantage score if that's not what the lenders are looking at.
I know. It's just they just go off same with Identity IQ. So Identity IQ is a credit monitoring system that we utilize for people when they have negatives, because it is super in depth in terms of telling you what's going on with your credit, like what specific date you missed or you were late on a payment, what month it was. So it's super in depth. So they go just off of a Vantage score. I don't know why either, but they do. But for people to look at their score in terms of what the lenders are going to actually be looking at, go check out the Experian app, because the Experian app is typically going to be your FICO 8, which is going to be in alignment with what most traditional lenders are looking at.
Okay. Is Experian the credit bureau that you would say most lenders and most banks are using to pull from, or is it like any one of these more popular than the other?
Nope. So Experian, when I say Experian, I mean the app. So that's a great question. A lot of people might think, oh, this Experian is only showing me Experian. So within the Experian app, it's going to still show you your Experian score, your TransUnion score, and your Equifax score. It's just going to show you it based off of what's called a FICO 8 model. That model is going to be exactly what these banks, when you're going for funding, are going to be looking at and replicating. Versus the Credit Karma app, it only shows you TransUnion and Equifax, but it's going to be showing you a Vantage score, which is not in alignment with what the lenders are actually going to be looking at.
Is the Vantage score aligned with any?
Not any real lenders. No.
It's great. It's just a dream,
it's
right?
Right. So don't be caught up on Credit Karma thinking you got a 720, then you go to the dealership and they telling you, nah, you got a 610.
I like because I'm familiar with that, right? Yeah. I like to consider Credit Karma as like potential, right? This is what you could have.
That part.
They showing you this is what you could have if you take care of these,
Facts.
right? But you ain't got that yet.
Not yet, right.
So you talked about business structure as something that's also something you want to pay attention to before applying for funding. And when you first mentioned it, I'm thinking you're talking about like as a business, how do you plan on making money? Like what's your offers look like? But you mentioned it was something something a little bit deeper, like what your business looks like to the public.
Absolutely.
Right? Talk about some major points that they want to have established in their business to have a quote unquote good business structure.
100%. So what I say is this, right? I like to use the word optimize. That's why I call this the optimizing part of getting in position to look the part, right? So you came up to me and I was on the street and I had holes in my shirt. I had boogies on my nose. My jeans were super ripped. One of the hubcaps was falling off. And I got out the car and I said, hey, how you doing? My name's Darius. I help people get access to high limits and funding. Would you do business with me?
I wouldn't believe you.
You wouldn't believe me, right? So the same ideology goes into how your business is positioned to the lenders. A lot of us, we're like, hey, I'm trying to come get $20,000, $30,000 in no doc funding, 0% interest for an introductory period, but you don't even have a business email. You don't even have the proper business phone number. Your business is attached to a Staples or FedEx. So what I tell you is, when you're setting up your business, first thing you want to do is make sure you set it up as an entity. That can be an LLC or an S Corp, right? Depending on your business's income. What you want to do next is you want to make sure you get your EIN number that is completely free. All right. You want to make sure that you get an actual business phone number and a business address. For your business phone number, you can go to call8.com or you can go to Freedom Voice and get you a toll-free number. All right. Don't be out here using a second cell phone number. And I want to be clear, it's not that these things mean you'll automatically get denied, but it's just going to lessen the approval amounts. When we go in, your personal profile set, your business is in good shape, we all go in at the highest possible tier, right? Yeah. Depending on how long your business has been in business. Every time you don't have something in compliance, you don't look the part, you're just dropping money, you're just losing money, right? So the next thing would be your business address. For your business address, you can go check out regis.com. You can check out iPostal. But the important thing for this is making sure that your business is actually attached to a brick and mortar location. Like this would be a good place for this is actual business address. Now, some people, what they'll do by mistake is if they're getting a virtual address, they'll just get it and not do their due diligence and put it in Google to see that's attached to an actual building. So, for example, I've had students in the past, they come to me, hey, I found out my business is attached to Staples. It's attached to a FedEx. Well, that's why you're getting denied, right? It's about looking the part. So you need to make sure it's attached to a brick and mortar. And then you just want to make sure you're not in what's deemed high-risk industry. So high-risk industries for anyone listening is credit repair industry will be deemed high-risk, real estate, trucking, cannabis, right? So stay away from these in your name. So I wouldn't say Darius's Credit Repair LLC. I'm not going to get any money with that because it's deemed high risk. Instead, what I tell people is use words like enterprise, use words like worldwide, use words that marketing, consulting, because these are deemed lower risk, which means more eligibility for more funding. Yeah.
So even if your business is credit repair or real estate or trucking, you don't want to say those words in the application or in your entity. You want to use enterprise.
Exactly.
Okay, got you.
And a hack for those of y'all, because a lot of times we talked about the whole self-employed thing. Don't go into the bank talking about, oh yeah, I just started my credit repair business, because that banker, you're thinking they're being nice the whole time. They're writing notes. You red flag. You're gonna
just
walk.
Started.
Yeah, just sat down. Gotta go. Gotta go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like put yourself in the best position. So that's in terms of structuring and setting up that business the right way.
Got you. Is that typical though when you're applying for funding that you are going in for these in-person interviews with the like underwriter or stuff like that, or is that kind of like a every once in a while? Or
so no, it's not even an interview, bro. You actually don't need any interview. I'm just saying for people who are gonna walk in the bank.
Oh, got you.
Because like what I tell you next is, okay, build a relationship with the bank. How do you do that? Go open a business checking account. Go open a business savings account. How do you further that relationship? Go drop some money in that account. How do you enhance that even more? Maybe set up direct deposit, some of your money to go to that bank account. And I talked about earlier, that can be 30 days. On day 31 now, if our credit is in position, our business is structured, we built the relationship, now we're ready to get that bag. So no, it's not about an interview, it's just people talking too much because we're excited. People, oh yeah, I'm a boss, I'm self-employed. All right, check, red flag.
Yeah.
Right, so those are some things I would tell you, but you can very much so just apply at home. But I do recommend building an initial relationship with at least one or two banks.
Got you. So since you giving out some real good game, right? So like people listening to this, they take all this to, by the time they come to you, they could very much be that next student to get funding in one day, because they would have already done this before even coming to you.
Absolutely.
Man, that's you giving them the play for real. Speaking of the play, once you get this funding, we talked about it. Everybody's play looks a little bit different, but what can be consistent is people not knowing, okay, I got this money, what now? I know as a coach and as a consultant, you spoke on, you do help people with figuring out how to make their money work for them once you get the funding. Because what we was taught, is credit is bad. Run from it. Don't take out too much because you're going to spend it all. And I'm very much, if I got 80 bands, and I don't have no plan for it, I'm liable to spend it.
It's going to go somewhere.
I'm liable to spend it. Yep. So what's some plays or some ways that people can use that money, leverage it, have it work for them, no matter the business that they're in?
What I would tell people is this, like, there's a few ways I make money. Funding as a service, right? Easy business to start. You could start with no money, right, in the funding space. Once you learn this skill that I just taught you, literally all three criteria is right. I told you foundation, optimize, and then strategy. Then from there, you can turn around and now fund others. Now, the way that business works is essentially we get paid on a success fee. So let's say you go out and you get a client $50,000 in funding. Guess what? 10% success fee, that's a $5,000 payout, right? You get someone $100,000, that's a $10,000 payout. You do just 10 clients a year. That's a 6-figure business that you have. And it's a very easy process because you already know the skill of how to do those things. Now it's just the business side, the contracts, the onboarding process, and then having a back office. Another business you can do is I tell you can monetize your gifts. All right, so like, for example, someone like you come and you already have a set foundation with your podcast. So obviously for you, you're going to use the money to be able to marketing. You're going to use it towards maybe outsourcing, hiring some VAs, maybe figure how you can pay someone to help you make your offer a little more enticing, whatever it may be. For someone who has just no skills and they're like, well, what do I do? One of the things I would tell them is leverage your intellectual property. Like, what is something you've done? Because the easiest way to make a lot of money is digital products. So you can literally take this funding that you've gotten now, and I can show you how to create something one time and sell it forever. Whether that's an ebook, whether that's a course, whether that's something simple as a planner, a coaching program, whatever that may be. And now that you have this funding behind you, you're able to do what you need to do to really grow it. Because the business is that business is lit because it's not a lot of overhead. It's typically marketing. Once you get to a certain point, maybe you're making 10, 20,000. Now you go get a VA or two, virtual assistant, who can now help you implement those things that are going to help you scale. And then, you can sell it forever.
Yeah, the digital assets is definitely a good play, and it's something that you can build just based off of things you already know.
Facts.
Like you said, things that you've done. As long as you have a proof of concept.
Yep.
I'm not saying that anybody can just come out here and build a course, right? But if you have a proof of concept and say, "Hey, I have this process, it works," that's definitely liable.
I mean, if you think about it, like literally, like all type of things, like people got courses on like, how to just. Like, I know this one lady, she has a course and it helps women over 40 with dynamic like recipes, like how to cook better. And you would think like people would buy that, but you gotta understand there's billions of people out here. People pay for convenience and people pay for speed. So it could even be the same problem. Like most people be like, oh, some people say, oh, credits watered down. A lot of people doing it. Well, when I see something that's a saturated market, what I understand is it's saturated for a reason. It's saturated because it's a big problem and a lot of people need it. For example, like, financial literacy will never go out of style, right? A million people could teach it or do it and it won't go out of style because there are so many people who need it. And I know the way we make money in the world is you make the most money two ways. You either solve a big problem or you impact a lot of people, right? So a doctor makes a lot of money because they solve a big problem. If your friend is per se bleeding out, you can't help them. It don't matter how much you're crying, how irritated you are, how much adrenaline you got. You don't have the skill set. The doctor went to school for 12 years. They have that skill set. That's why they make a lot of money. LeBron James make a lot of money because he impacted a lot of people, right? So if you just learn, high income skills, which I always talk about, you get this funding, you should never go back to broke.
And even when you think about like something like as small as a cookbook, a recipe, right? Like it's more so about what culture are you, because that's impacting a lot of people too, right?
Absolutely.
Establishing a culture behind your offering, your product, because then you think about it. Even if the only people who buy your recipe are 36-year-old women, that's very specific, right? 36-year-old women. You think about it. Every day, millions of people are turning 36.
Exactly.
So it's like, for just to give people that hope, like it don't even matter. Like this year, okay, we only did this, but it's a whole new year, whole new day. Right? Every day somebody turning 36.
100%.
Every day somebody is putting themselves now in your scope to be a potential
your
client.
Ideal audience,
right?
Sure.
And what I love about, so you pretty much said that your students have an option to, of course, they can just get the funding, but they can also come to you to get funding and learn to set up a funding business.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we have calls every Thursday where we show them how to set up their back office, because once you're running a business, like I said, I want you operating as a business. So, how to set up a sales funnel for funding clients. For example, if I, made a post and I said, if you're looking for, 100,000 in funding in the next, 7 to 14 business days, text me this or DM me the word funding. And now you DM me the word, what happens is I have something called a mini chat, right? Which is just an automation a reply. It says, hey, I see you're looking for funding. Fill out this application and let's see if you qualify. Now, I've set up that automation. So when you come in the application and you fill in your data points, how many primary accounts do you have? Do you have any derogatories? Do you have any late payments? If you do not meet all the criteria, you're automatically disqualified. But if you reach all that criteria, guess what? You automatically go into what we call a pipeline to where I know, okay, I get a notification. You have a qualifying client who's ready for funding. Now I teach them how to do this so that now they have this and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now they have a process that they can actually run a business.
Now they get to focus on only spending time with people that's qualified.
Exactly.
And they get to still run their business that they originally wanted to get funding for.
Exactly. Because what happens is if you just put out posts and you don't have what we like to call qualifiers, you'll get everybody and their mother thinking that they're qualified for funding. Even though you've told them the data points, people still will say, oh yeah, I think I'm qualified because I got a 705, right? Not knowing that, no, you missed the other 10 steps that I just said.
That's dope. And I want to put into perspective on how game changing that is, especially for, I could see like coaches, consultants, people with like digital products, and stuff like that, because one, you getting funding to make your product, scale your product. Like Absolutely. You said, you could put it in the marketing, VAs, hiring VAs so that you can even leverage your time and do a little bit less work, have the VAs do some more work. Boom, you got all that handled. But then now you learn how to set up a funding business. Now you can even provide funding for your offer, right? 100. So now you don't even have to worry about sending them to the old boy down the street or, giving them the list of places to apply for, have them and hope that they go do it the right way. You get to just run it and fund them yourself.
Absolutely.
And I mean, at that point, because you mentioned as a funding business, you got a success fee. Is that, would you advise your students waive that success fee if they're funding for an offer that they pretty much doubling down with the offer and the success fee?
Yeah, it depends on what you got going on. So
especially
like,
if the course don't cost 100 bands, you give them 100 bands,
absolutely.
right?
Like, get your money. And I tell people, like, you got to understand, you got to get paid because you are running a business. And I think sometimes people forget, like, business runs off of two things: impact, meaning you need to be actually changing people's lives or solving a pain point, and then the second is money. Business doesn't run without money behind it. So when people talk about, such and such is always selling, it's like, the point of a business is to sell. If you're not selling, you can't serve. If I can't sell you, I cannot serve you, right?
Yeah.
And I always say, without transaction, there's really no transformation, because they even did a study that there was an offer, right? It was like a 10K offer, and 5 people had paid the full 10K, and the other 5 had paid nothing. They got it for free. And the results were over 300% to the people who all paid.
Yeah.
The only difference
They
in the
got skin in
program
the
was,
game.
exactly, when you ain't got no skin in the game, it's easy to quit.
Yeah.
It's bigger than you. When you invested 10,000, 20,000, you're like, all right, I'm finna show up. I'm finna do all the work. I'm gonna have all the questions, because what? You put that money on the line. You bet on yourself.
Yeah.
But I tell people, it just depends on your situation. I wouldn't waive the success fee. No, if there's a way that you can, if you have an offer where you're getting them into your offer, well, you might lessen the success fee, knowing that you're gonna get paid on the back end. But nah.
Yeah, you said something there when you said sales. If you can't sell, you can't serve, and like, sales is literally in everything.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know sales, you don't have a business, because if you can't make a sale, you don't have a business to make no money.
You have a hobby.
Yeah, you got an expensive hobby for most people, right?
Absolutely.
Like, if this was just a hobby, boy, this is a expensive hobby. I'm trying to tell you.
No, facts.
Yeah, so. What were some of the, like, where did you go to get some of your sales skills, just to understand, of course, marketing the sales, right? Like,
absolutely,
just to understand these things. What were some of the intentions you put behind just understanding sales, learning sales, so that you can make yourself a better, quote unquote, salesperson?
So at first, right, when I first got the funding, first thing I did was Turo. Then I did some Airbnb, because I wanted to just leverage this money to see what it felt like, right? And then I started doing the funding, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty fire. After that, the first coach I had invested in, actual coach, like high ticket program, was my guy Runway, and he's good with the digital products. He's a beast with it. So I had bought into his program, teaching you how it was a low ticket framework, like how do you make a lot of money selling low ticket. So I feel like, for me personally, the most important skill at that time was digital marketing, because if you can master Instagram and you can learn like how to make money from Instagram, you should never go broke. Like, I mean, if you could just solve one problem, like there's people who they just sell, this is some grants that you could go get. Like, this is how you make your first $1,000. You can sell 50 of those every day at $100 price point, or even 5 of those every day at $100 price point. You're making $500. $500 times 7 days a week, $3,500 a week, right? That's $14,000 a month. That's more than the average American makes at their job. So digital marketing, I feel, is I would tell a young person that should be the number one skill in 2023 that you should invest in, because once you master it, you can make money forever without even having to sell. Selling is when you have to get on the phone or you talk to a person. It can be one-of-one, or with virtual events like webinars and stuff, it can be one-to-many. That's an entirely different skill.
Yeah.
All right, so that would be another skill that I would definitely suggest, because it's easier to sell one-to-many than it is one-to-one, because people do a lot of the marketing for you. If I'm in a room full of 200 people and I've just given you all a lot of value, and I ask certain questions, how many of y'all got some value tonight? Everyone's like, yeah, okay, well, you guys got, one of my live classes, I get people funded. I'm like, tonight I showed you all how to go get $25,000 for free. If I charge you $2,000 today before this, would you say that this was worth it? You got 100 people in the chat saying, hell yeah, it was worth it. Now, when you go to make an offer at the end, they've already told you that the free class is worth $2K. So now it's easier, based on third-party proof, the people who are already in there, in the value that I've already given them, in the results, it's easier to sell them up because I've already given them so much value. So one-to-many is definitely a dope way to sell. That was a skill that I invested in, a few different mentorships. And then after that, the next skill I would say is well, within digital marketing, content is going to be within it. Content is a must, right? You see a lot of people like yourself getting busy with the content, and then just learning like back end or back office, how to set up plays, like for example, hiring a sales manager, how to train a sales team if you don't have a sales manager, because it's about leverage. And I keep speaking on leverage because leverage is the key to getting somewhere faster. So for example, if you took the calls all day, right? Cool. You could talk to probably 5 people a day. You be tapped out. You be tired, right? But what if you hire me and you tell me that I need to hire you 5 salesmen, and all 5 salesmen need to call people who are in your pipeline or on your email list all day. Even if you're really freaking good at selling, you cannot compete with 5 people who are even half as good.
Who's doing
as
it
you.
all day?
Because
you can't
leverage.
even do it all day if you're the business owner.
Exactly.
You got other shit to do. You got to process. You gotta, fulfill on what the offer is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So 5 calls, that might even be too much. You might even be looking at 3.
3.
Yeah. And if they depend on how long the calls is, right?
Exactly.
If you're trying to sell them, they could be 45-minute calls.
Could be longer. Yeah. It could be longer.
That's crazy. And then you got, of course, the consultations that you're doing.
Absolutely.
The check-ins that you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's also other calls you added into that.
So you have to get a team. I say leverage is the thing I couldn't possibly do. Some people's out here were solo entrepreneurs, which is why funding's so key. You're doing the marketing, you're doing the emails, you're doing the copyright, you're doing the calls, you're doing the actual coaching or the actual business. You're doing everything, and because you're doing everything, you're wondering why your business is not growing. It's because you literally are doing a bunch of low income activities instead of figuring out what is the thing in my business that makes me the most money. I know in my business, the thing that makes me the most money is content. Mm-hmm. So the other things, people hopping on calls, I have a team who does that. DMing people, responding to DMs, I have a team who does that all day. Someone to oversee those people who are in the DMs and who are keeping track of my metrics. How much followers did we get? How much money did we bring in? How much Facebook ads did we spend? I have someone to oversee that because there's no way I can effectively do all those things. Yeah,
it's not even about the low income activities either. It's just even if you're doing 5 high income activities,
exactly,
you doing 5 high income activities shitty.
Yes,
like it's like
20%.
You're doing them very bad. Like you're not even advancing them.
Yes.
You just kind of like. Put
Surviving.
20 minutes here, put 20 minutes there. Okay, it didn't get done. I'll do it tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's like it's not really looking that good. Mm-hmm. And speaking of like just selling to many versus selling to one, I did the math real quick. It's only $274 a day to make $100,000 a year, right? Yes. So if you just look at, can I create something to where at the bare minimum, can I create one product worth $274 where I just got to sell one of those a day? Or can I create one product that's worth half of that and sell 2 of them a day? You just keep breaking it down.
That's it.
Right? And it's like, that's why I love the beauty of, communities as well. Because communities allow you to create something, put a value on it, and overextend yourself to that community to where now you have a cult following of people
100%
committing to that every single month. Every single month. And what I want to talk about too is, because I'm sure you have a community as well. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that people come to your community for that they may not get from just downloading the course or just tapping in from like an ebook or something like that?
Yeah, so most people, they'll sell a course and you get the course and that's it. You don't really hear from them. Well, my university is not just a university. Like today, I even told you we had, so we do a quarterly 2-day mastermind where they're live with me and special guests. Not only that, but once a month we have an additional coaching call, because I feel like this, when you look at courses, when you look at the statistics, only about 9 people actually go, 9%, of people actually finish the course. So when I look at that stat, I think, okay, that doesn't sound like great results. So I thought, okay, how could I add a situation where people are more enticed to get to the result? So one thing we did was, for the university level, accountability. Because most people, what they pay for is confirmation, reassurance, and accountability, right? A lot of people can go on YouTube and they can get some answers, but they're paying for reassurance. You probably 80%.
I don't even care about the reassurance. I don't care about the accountability.
Accountability, because that's what's going to push you to get that result. Yeah. So that's what we offer in terms of community, and I see a huge difference. People are like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And my university is probably super low because proof of concept, right? Now, a lot of people from the university, because we offer so much value, they graduate to the mentorship. So a lot of people start off in the course, they're like, this is dope, we're getting value, okay, I want more access. So my mentorship is where they meet with us live, pretty much weekly, like 7-8 times a month we meet.
That's game. That's heavy. And it is, I could see that statistic, that 9% being very very valid, because just for me personally as a learner, even though I will buy a course, I usually get the course because it comes with some type of weekly coaching or one-on-one, because I don't want to just sit. I use the course to pretty much give myself homework,
a baseline.
It's like you go, just like in college, you go to meet with the professor and they give you homework. So that you can review the notes, you got something to study. I like the course to give me homework. Okay, like coach said this in the call. Let me go on the course, catch up on lessons 1 through 4. Fill out the resources, the sheets that they got, and then have it ready for the next time I talk to coach.
That's it.
And I think that's a really good way to partner it, with having those, those communities 100%. Because people get to ask those questions that's not answered in a digital course. Even if the person is talking, it's like you got some frequently asked questions,
specifics too. That's why I say school's model of how they ran school in terms of the structure wasn't bad. I just feel like they didn't teach the right things. But in terms of like, you go to class, you get a study guide to go study, and then we'll do homework, but you'll also have tests to make sure that what you study between the book, what you've seen in class, and you doing studying on your own, we're going to see now, did it help you, retain the information. So the model of school isn't bad. It's just the stuff they taught us.
And I think the biggest difference is, bro, is because you're going over from learning from someone who is going off of a curriculum in a book versus learning from somebody who is giving you practical advice because they're doing
100%.
it. So it's like, I'm giving you knowledge in one area versus I'm giving you applied knowledge in the other one, where 100. I'm telling you how to do it, why you should do it, and what I did, versus this person can only say the book says to do it this way. Right? But the book was written by 2 people who even barely did it themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just doing some research. This is a case study.
No cap.
You know what I'm saying? They wrote this long ass book. Off of a case study versus this is somebody who
every day who's doing it.
And they might not even have the
stuff
schooling.
In there. I know.
They might not even
you
have
don't
the
need schooling now too.
Really
That's the crazy part. The world we live in is like, bro, you could go learn a skill from you and I literally can apply it, go get the result, have a proof of concept, and then I'm eligible to impact others.
Yeah, it's like, man, if we could, and I'm not saying that, by nowhere are we saying like school is bad, right? It's like there are some benefits of like, and I'm gonna say like, look at it like this, because school is, especially like primary education, like that's important. That's where you gives you a lot of your foundation. But when it comes to like higher education, I feel like that's where you got to be very intentional on the purpose of why you're going. If you're going just because a lot of people say go to school so you can get a degree and get a good job, but that's not where your heart is, I will say 1000% listen to your heart. Absolutely. Right? Don't do that shit, because you're going to go into a lot of debt to have a degree in something you ain't going to use.
It ain't necessarily good debt.
Right. It ain't going to be good debt. Right. But if you going into it with the mindset is like, okay, I'm going here because this has the best or this has the best, I'm an athlete, this got the best program, or I'm a extrovert where I like networking, and this has the best network.
100%.
That's where you look at it with the purpose of, okay, I'm gonna take out that loan to go to
this because it's worth this.
Because it's worth this.
Like for me, it was sports. Like that's why I played football at University of Maine, and I always say, like, I'm being real, I probably wouldn't even went to school if it wasn't for football. Just because it's like I wasn't a school guy in general. Like I barely graduated from high school. Literally, I went to JUCO, and then I had to come home to finish up associates. Barely made that. And it was just my drive behind it was I really wanted to play, D1 ball. So that was my thing. But you got to think about it: $50,000 a year over 4 years, $200,000. You could go out here and learn a skill set from someone who's doing it for 10% of the price and go learn how to directly make money, right? So I just say weigh your options, man. But I'll tell young people, invest in skills.
And I'm learning that now. And I came from a different where education, like higher education, was like pushed on me. It was like, you gotta go to school, get that degree. It was like my parents are very traditional in that thinking. And it was just so happened where I was fortunate enough to where I don't have no student loans on it. Like it was,
Lit.
you know, scholarship.
Good. That's dope.
But
See, in that case, hell yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and that's when it makes sense too, right? You getting paid to go to school,
Absolutely.
handle your business, get that degree. But I just learned along the way that the school I went to was big for the networking piece, right? Like it was. I went to Cheney University up in PA.
Oh, Cheney in PA.
Yeah.
I went to West Virginia University for a semester, so we went up to Cheney a few times.
Okay, like
West Virginia Mountaineers.
Okay.
So Cheney ain't too far.
Yeah, no, it's not far at all, and it's like the thing about Cheney is like that second chance school, right? It's a state school, so it's most likely going to be the school. Like if you got decline from like the bigger schools,
they're gonna
then Cheney going to accept because Cheney loves showing love. It's like okay. Even though you ain't do this good on these test scores, we still going to bring you in on conditional acceptance, yada, yada, yada. So it was one of those schools. And as far as the education, what I value was because it was small, you know, you had smaller classes. Which is dope. Like I'm talking about like I had a class size of 7.
Word. So you getting that attention and you getting questions.
And I'm not talking about like the gen ed, like math and shit. Right. I'm talking about like my major classes, like, you know, it's 7 of us. So we just in there rapping. It's kind of very conversational. So I really value the education like that. Yeah. But as far as using my degree, I ain't using none of it. Right? I ain't using, but I did use every single skill of like networking and getting active,
which is big. Which
is another thing. If you're gonna go there, at least get active in some clubs,
absolutely.
Find some organizations, meet people, and network. If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it that way, right? Facts. Like, because you most likely ain't gonna use the degree. You most likely not gonna use the degree.
77% of people, bro, don't
use a degree.
That's crazy.
You know, and the other 33% who do. Yeah. Because of the way school is structured, find themselves in these long careers with no advancement. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The people who usually advance their careers are the people who realize I'm not using this degree. I need to
let me go pivot to get some more money.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Business owners, right?
Like, and most of baker. I'm like, I don't even know how I graduated in communications. I'm a baker.
Right.
Like, I'm like,
right, bro. Yeah. Man, this has been a great chat, man, and I think it was a well-needed chat for our listeners too to now get that idea of like how to financially position themselves to not only establish a business but to get funded for that business too. So before we part ways, I would love a couple more questions. This one is not really related to what we were just talking about, but more so like a scenario I want you to give our listeners, kind of like red pill, blue pill. If you could put yourself in the position of like Morpheus, right? Give our listeners a red pill to choose from or a blue pill to choose from, kind of a scenario that's kind of putting them in this rock in a hard place, right? What would that look like?
A red pill, blue pill. So you mean like
if you could do this and get this result, or do this and get that result, what would you choose?
If you could do this and get this result.
So, old boy, he is so crazy. He just asked this, which is related to your business, right? He's like, you can get an 850 credit score today or $1 million cash today. Which one are you choosing?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's a good one. Okay, so I mean, we was on the topic that we were just on. I would ask people if you could go to college and pay $200,000 over 4 years, or you could get a couple coaches in that teach specific high income skills and pay probably $20,000 to $30,000 over that same 4 years. Which one would you choose? College or the direct coach?
I mean, shit, based off of this conversation, bro, I would hope that everybody says the coach, right?
Right, they should, for real. And the final gem I'll give y'all is this, because I want them to have like the whole play to be able to run it. After y'all set up what we talked about, y'all understand foundation, optimizing, and what they're looking for. Some 0% interest banks, and I stress 0% interest, especially for new entrepreneurs, because that 0% introductory period is going to release some stress.
Yeah.
For example, you go get some funding. Now you're starting a podcast business. You don't have to worry about the next month that money being paid back or having interest accrue because, let's say, Chase Bank, you got 0% 12 months. So I stress this. So some 0% interest banks that y'all can check out. Y'all can check out Truist Bank. You can get 2 business credit cards, both 0% introductory period. Y'all can check out Chase Ink Unlimited or the Chase Business Cash Card. They're giving high limits. I got students getting up to $75,000, 0% 12 months. You go check out Bank of America. You can actually get up to 3 credit cards with just 1 inquiry, all 0% for 9 months. And you all can check out American Express, specifically the blue cards, if you're looking for that 0% interest introductory period, because that's going to be key for growth. I just want to make sure I leave them with that.
And 0% introductory period, is that like no interest or no payment for that period.
No interest. So you might have a minimum payment where it's like 1%. So let's say your approval was let's say $10,000 or $20,000. 1% of that is what you might have to pay during that intro.
So $10 a month.
Exactly, which is essentially nothing. So that period, I tell people, take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, that's some gas, especially shouting out those cards that people could apply for. Yeah, to go run that play. I know, of course, before I get you out of here, I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit more about obviously where they can find you, but some things that you might even be super excited about. I know you got the challenge that you're running with Dion. If you want to touch on that a little bit too, for sure. Now's the time to share. Yeah,
for sure. So what y'all can do is y'all can DM me the word on Instagram. Y'all can DM me the word cash. And if you DM me the word cash, I'm going to invite you into a completely free workshop where I'm going to be showing you how to turn credit into cash. We're going to show you how to increase your credit score 50 points and how to get $50,000 in funding live on the free workshop. So just DM me the word cash at Darius Benders on Instagram, and I got you.
Awesome. That's pretty much what you got for him.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Well, y'all heard the man. Go DM that word cash right now at Darius Benders on IG so y'all can get that free play on how to turn that cash or get that income, right?
Get that credit, turn that credit into cash.
Credit into cash. Yeah. There we go. Hey, perfect, bro. Well, I appreciate having you on the show. I appreciate all the gain that you gave our listeners. And to our listeners as well, I appreciate having y'all on the platform week in, week out. Y'all tuned in every Monday. Y'all tuned in every Friday. And then, of course, now we got them lives coming on Tuesdays. And y'all getting ready to have a treat for how you can leverage now that content too. So once Darius give y'all the play on how to establish the business, get the funding, you're going to start running some content so that you can continue to scale that business. And that's where we're going to help you out with giving you those content and those content hacks. All right. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Peace.